Hey guys.
Hey.
How are you guys?
Fabulous. How are you?
Good. I mean, we're here at the NOM Studios podcast. I'm here with Jillian of Jillian Circus and Godson of Blue Surge. It's kind of an impromptu talk. Jillian, it was mostly your idea. We're in this.
I'm always getting people into these messes.
You got us into this mess. But we're part of this small, I don't know if it's really small, email marketing group called Mosaic. And there's an interesting conversation going on a couple of nights ago about TikTok when it was getting banned, how people feel. And a lot of emails are flowing back and forth. And you're just like, we should have a podcast about this. And I was like, sure, why don't you come through? And so here we are, 2 days later, 3 days later, having this podcast. You know, I reached out to you, Godson, because you're also in the marketing space with Blue Surge and doing things on your own. And so I felt like it would be a good place to like break down what's really going on with TikTok right now.
For sure.
And just get a few different like feelings about it. We probably all have separate thoughts, ideas, notions about what's going on. But to anybody who isn't plugged in but happens to be watching a podcast, TikTok was taken down for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Mercilessly, by the way. And ahead of schedule. I don't know if you guys realize that. It's supposed to go down at midnight?
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, and then people started posting and I was so confused.
10:30, shut down.
Yeah. 10:30, I think it was like 8:30 for me.
Might have been.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was 8:30 for me. I think I have a screenshot where I would have like, because when I saw the thing pop up, I was like, no. But so TikTok was taken down because it didn't meet the standards for the bill to get sold or have a buyer in a certain amount of days. And so they shut it down just to bring it back up and kind of praise the new administration saying, hey, they helped us bring it back up. But I think it's way deeper than that. So
well, I think the new administration forced that narrative. It was really both bills that were signed into Congress that enacted TikTok's takedown were when Biden was president. So I think Trump, as he does, takes credit for everything that happens. So I think that was just a narrative pushed by him, but not really the actual reality of the situation.
He wanted them to kiss the ring, basically.
Yeah,
it was a kiss the ring move.
was it a kiss the ring move, or was it more of like a kiss the ring brown noser move, I would say, as well, to get on his good side?
Oh, for sure. Sure. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw some of the inauguration and all of the tech bros and the big tech CEOs, Musk, Zuckerberg, were all at the inauguration.
Right? Wasn't Shu invited? Was he there?
He was there too, yeah.
He was there too? Okay, I didn't see him on camera even though I was watching the inauguration. I was in my office working on the background.
I was watching it live on Twitter or X, like on a little screen. I was like trying to zoom in.
But what do you think is going to happen? Well, first of all, what do you think is going to happen? I think something already happened with the algorithm.
Yeah.
After those 12 hours of shutdown.
It's been, I mean, I've just been seeing tweets and people are saying certain things are being flagged and basically like there's certain messages that you'll put on TikTok or like Free Palestine, things like that. Like it's immediately getting like reported and like your account's getting flagged essentially in terms of comment moderation. So it looks like they've already started to implement maybe some of the censorship stuff as a result of them trying to basically switch hands into like American ownership. So it's definitely changing, I think.
Yeah.
I feel that one of my, hot takes is that they're tanking the algorithm on purpose, knowing that they're going to sell or have to sell to some American entity, whether it's Meta or somebody else, which I don't think Meta bought it. That would have been way bigger news. But I think that after they took down the servers for those couple of hours, they might have changed something or changed the algorithm, knowing that it has to sell at some point, and they don't want to give them the original algorithm. And I think that's what we have right now, because on top of what you're saying about the things being flagged and censorship, obviously that's going to happen. It just seems as you scroll through, I'm getting a lot of new faces. I'm getting a lot of things that I haven't seen before. And a lot of the same thing over and over again. I feel like the scroll kind of reminds me of Instagram Reel scroll, where it's just like, if you search one thing, that's all that's on your feed. And it's just like, something feels a little bit off right now. So they definitely did something with that algorithm during that 12-hour shutdown.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a period of game, right? Like they're going to be playing games with the administration. The administration is going to be playing games with them. The buyers are going to be playing games because they have to get the best deal. I mean, this is going to be a period of gameplay with those people.
Agreed.
But I think the bigger conversation, there's a bigger conversation here that is larger than just TikTok and just this one shutdown. And I think it's about like social media as a whole and what we want or expect from these platforms and from the people who own these platforms, you know, because we always, even many years ago, I started a company 12 years ago, and even then we talked about there will be laws that are enacted around these things.
Yeah.
Right now it's like the Wild West. There's no law. There's no law. I mean, even lawyers don't know the laws about social media, and because there aren't any. Yeah. And so laws will come, and now we're seeing the first, I think, of these laws, which is very interesting. How I didn't expect this to be it, you know what I mean? I didn't think this would be the law. Like,
I think it's a great point. I think the dominoes are starting to kind of slowly fall into place. Where, like you mentioned, when we think about the average age of our congressmen and senators, like, you know, they're not the ones really on TikTok or all these platforms, apps, right? So I think we're seeing a concept where like the technology is moving faster than the legislation, and now the law is essentially trying to basically catch up and to be able to kind of see how they can kind of build guardrails, knowing that there's, again, censorship stuff going on. We having conversations around like propaganda on our timelines, and just being able to kind of push narratives, right? Whether it's from U.S. elections or, you know, what's going on in other parts of the world. So I think we're in a super really interesting time where we're going to start to see, like you said, not just TikTok, but all of these other platforms start to kind of shift and change their algorithms to kind of adjust to this new administration.
Yeah, it's all about control, though, because, you know, that's the biggest thing, having control of the narrative, right? And just as technology just keeps growing rapidly, you know, the government, everything is finding that they're not having control of this narrative. So even if it's
and
not
the money.
And the money.
Because the money, billions of dollars are going over to China. Billions are going to China, but China has blocked all American platforms.
Yeah.
So their billions of dollars that could be coming back to America are not coming back to America. We're only sending money out to China. The money is not coming back to America. And that's one of, I believe that's actually the biggest sticking point that there is with TikTok specifically, because when you talk about these other problems are happening with every platform. So why only TikTok? Why the foreign platforms, not all social media platforms, right? And when you talk about that, the difference is the billions leaving our country and not able to come back to our country. And so I think that's like the big thing that the politicians at least care about.
But as consumers, like, what do you guys care about when it comes to social media and using social media, and what gets most of your attention?
I mean, I think I'm super biased, right? Because we're all marketers here in the room. So, like, one half, you know, I do want that entertainment factor, whatever the case may be. But then I'm also super cognizant of, like, data laws and privacy. And it's like, how are they using this data? And again, paid media side, it's like, well, I'm okay with you using some of my data because I do want to see like relevant ads. I don't want to see ads that don't make sense to me or whatever the case may be. But then it's also like, well, you know, it's, at least from the TikTok perspective, there are conversations and reports that like, because it's owned by China, some of our data is being used and passed over there, right? So it's like, do we want China having our data? Or are we okay with just American companies and Mark Zuckerberg having it?
Do we even want American companies having our data?
That's the question.
Yeah.
I think we're just way too far gone for that.
Yeah.
I think whoever has our data has our data already, whether it's
You're
American
right.
or foreign entities.
But do we want it is like a whole other...
You know, do you want to have the veil over our eyes? Do you want to, you know? And I'm with you. I'm kind of biased as well. And as in terms of the entertainment factor, I love scrolling through TikTok and I see funny stuff and I save and I like, and it seems just amazing because I like their algorithm, because it just seems that everybody's like and everybody's follow on TikTok is just wild and free like it used to be. Like you just
Yeah.
follow everybody, just like everybody. When it comes to at least Instagram,
way
it feels
more
like
polished.
everybody's likes and follows are so guarded.
Yeah, of
like
course.
it's like you need to show me a reason to follow you on Instagram.
Well, that's
right?
because like your coworkers are there, our parents are there now. Whereas TikTok, it's still like kind of like wild side a little bit. Like I'm following this like super random niche account from Japan and stuff like that. And it's like no one knows, and it's like it's just me and that person, not like everyone in like my larger social sphere following me and seeing what I'm doing. Right. I think that's kind of some of the nuance around TikTok.
Yeah. I also on the other side, low key was like, maybe I do want like TikTok to get banned. But from a marketing side,
Why is
only
that?
because my mind frame is that, as marketers, we have a lot of businesses and people coming to us saying like, can you market for us on different platforms? Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, or X, and TikTok is one of the new ones. And everybody wants to market on TikTok, which is understandable because it's a way to grow fast. But I just feel like as a marketing agency and as a marketer, in order to market on TikTok, it's such a high cost for someone else to do it for you.
Absolutely.
That most clients don't understand the work and everything that goes into it, especially with TikTok.
It's what the most demanding of a person's time and effort and energy, because you have to continuously create content. And not only do you have to create content, but you have to create it in a very specific way that takes time to edit and create. And the client has to be very involved in that process. We're on Facebook, Instagram, like these other places.
A little more hands off.
We can kind of come up with stuff without them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But on TikTok, we need their participation.
You need their
can't
participation. You need them. If they are going to be the face, they need to be the face. If they're not going to be the face, they need to give it up. And it's a consistent.
Like,
It's a high cost. So then when people come to you and say, "Hey, how much is it if I hire you to help me market on TikTok?" They usually scoff at the price. They're just like, "Whoa, that's way too high."
But at the same time, on TikTok, like we just had a local pizza place that hit 1.6 million views.
That's awesome.
And it started this whole like trend of people saying, because it was about delivering and their delivery service. And it said, do you deliver to Japan? Do you deliver to Georgia? Do you deliver here? Do you deliver there? But then there were also people saying, I live 5 minutes away. I'm coming by. And, I'm sharing this with my friend who also lives on Long Island, and et cetera.
Amazing.
So it created this really cool moment. So it is very demanding, and it does create a lot of challenges, especially on the agency side. But if you go through those challenges on TikTok, you really can do something really, really cool and get a lot of views. But you have to know how to connect your audience if you're going to do that, and what's going to like spark their excitement. And sometimes, and often actually, it's completely unexpected. Like we thought it was going to be a silly video about delivering. We didn't think we were going to start a viral moment, but we did, and it was cool. And now it's like continued. But
I think everybody has their little story about their viral moment on TikTok. Like my viral moment on TikTok was, I think it was a trend where it's just like, how do you know you're bougie without saying you're bougie? And I was like, how do you know I'm bougie without saying I'm bougie? And I went into my kitchen and I had seen something months before where it's just like on, I think it was Netflix, this restaurant, their salts, they mix like 3 or 4 different salts together. But their salt mixtures like Maldon salt, like Himalayan pig salt, iodized salt. Like, it was a bunch of
one salt in the house.
Yeah, like black salt, like
know.
black, like lava salt or whatever. And so I was like, that's interesting. So I did the same, and I mixed a bunch of salts together, and that's what I use in order to cook. And so I was like, how do you know you're bougie without saying you're bougie? And I was like, I mixed together 4 or 5 different salts, and that got like 50,000 views.
That's awesome.
And I was just like, wow, this is sort of viral mode, and like the comments and everything was insane. But back to saying like TikTok is a special breed, and that's why low key I was just like, oh no, I think people need to realize the work that goes into TikTok if you really want to market or do something on TikTok. It's not easy as just, hey, I'm gonna pay you to do it, get it done.
Yeah, but there's also, you can have these viral moments on all platforms. And that's why when TikTok, when they were talking about making it go dark or whatever the case may be, I wasn't concerned, because we can create those viral moments elsewhere. We have viral moments on Instagram, we have them on Facebook. I know you do a lot of like SEO work and Google ads and things of that nature. Like you can get those same moments
on other
on
platforms.
other platforms. Yeah.
I'll push back to that though. I think one of the interesting things about TikTok that is different from some of the other platforms that you mentioned, Instagram, Facebook. I feel like as of today, TikTok's the only one where you can go truly viral with like no following. Like you could have like 5 followers and just go viral, like gangbusters, right? Again, we'll have a viral story. Like I ended up flying my drone during Labor Day. There's the parade in Brooklyn, like the Caribbean West Indian Day parade. I flew my drone over like the crowd, like totally illegal, not supposed to do. But I ended up catching like really cool footage of like, thousands of people from like, West Caribbean descent or whatever the case may be, like at the parade, dancing, all that good stuff. And like, again, video went viral. It had like maybe 20, 30 followers at the time. And like, it did like 100,000 in a couple of days. And I was like, that's insane. And like, you're right. Again, there's a concept where we can kind of duplicate that to some degree on the Instagrams and the Facebooks, but I do feel like TikTok's algorithm, like you said, is just more conducive to like smaller creators being able to go viral if they just kind of get like that right combination of like storytelling, messaging, and audience.
Yeah.
I think every platform has its time. Obviously, it all started with MySpace or Zanga.
Friendster.
The Friendster, and then it goes to, Facebook, and then it's Instagram, and now it's TikTok. I personally think that its heyday is over.
So is it Red Note now? Are we all moving to Red Note?
I don't think it's going to be Red Note. I don't think it's going to be Red Note.
I don't think anything that's like what we have currently could go viral. It has to be
something new.
The reason that TikTok was so revolutionary was because it was incredible. Like when you saw people like changing clothes like that, like you were like your mind was blown. It was like it was so like absolutely unbelievable.
It was video editing on crack, basically.
Yeah, you were, and then it opened up this world of It completely changed how we consume content, how we think about content, how we film content. It revolutionized the entire industry, and I don't think that any other platform that's anything like what we have currently is going to be able to do that. It's going to have to be something so radically different that revolutionizes what we already have now. It has to be totally different.
What happened to Be Real?
No one wants to see 2 screens at one time. I mean, everybody tried to do it. The way you're talking about TikTok, that was Twitter back in the day.
Yeah.
The way that Twitter revolutionized how information got out and how people found out their information, it was the same way.
Connecting conversations.
And I really do think that whatever the new platform or whatever comes out after TikTok, one thing stays common throughout how all these get popular and how they end up losing their value is the discoverability. I think that the discoverability when a platform is new is so high that people fall in love with it. They find new people, they go viral, they find new, influencers, all that stuff. And then at some point, for some reason, they change the algorithm and that discoverability disappears. Just like it did on Facebook, just like it did on Twitter, just like it's done on Instagram, and just like it looks like it's happening on TikTok.
Yeah, well, I can speak to that. When we talk about changing the algorithm and discoverability, that interest graph, basically what you're describing, a lot of that really just comes from monetization, right? These platforms need to make money. They have all these users. Cool. Now we need to run ads. And that's kind of like where I come into paid social, right? Where it's like, I'm technically the guy ruining all your social media feeds, so sorry about that. But I think there's a concept where, once we start seeing, ads on our feeds and things like that, and we're not really seeing our friends anymore, or, the interest that we're really in tune in, I think we run into issue where we start to get tuned out, right? Like even TikTok, right before like they ended up taking it down, like I remember seeing so many ads from like TikTok shop, and sometimes the stuff is cool, like you see like the ads from Temu, or like, oh, I never thought I needed this like random little like
sometimes
ice cream scooper thing.
Swipe through like 3-4 videos before you get away from a sponsored ad.
So I think that's probably what contributes to like what we as consumers consider to be like the decline of a social media app.
Yeah. It's so interesting because Facebook is still the number one. Facebook and YouTube are still the number one apps, and their demographics are 34-year-olds. So it's interesting that like these platforms have held up in some way, and yet there's this conversation about there aren't as many likes on them, or there isn't as much interaction, or there's too many ads, and yet they still remain the top platforms out there. They still have the most people on. So I wonder like, how do we capitalize? You know, I think everyone goes to the new shiny thing. Everyone's like excited. But how do we capitalize on what's already built or like what's already there? And is there merit to going back to something that is traditional, maybe, you know, and funny to say like Facebook is traditional, but it is, I think, actually today.
Time
Are
flies.
you part of the group that, you know, in the email thread they were talking about who's deactivating their Twitter and their Facebook? Are you
Yes.
part of that? I'm deactivating it. Are you part of the no?
Absolutely not. No, I'm not deactivating. I wouldn't actively deactivate anything. I think that these are conversations that are being pushed on us by other people. I don't think that they're reality conversations. I think that they're dramatized conversations to create political
Narratives.
division
Yeah.
and narratives. Narratives is a good word. And also it's important to know my perspective. What I do is I help small business owners promote their businesses through these programs, right? So, and through these sites. So my perspective and my goal is to help them get to their audience.
Right.
And their audience is on these platforms. And I believe that there's a difference between advertising, like straight advertising, and creating a community of people where you provide value. And so if you're utilizing these platforms correctly, where you're creating a community of people and you're providing value for that community, you're in business for a reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
People need you for something. Somebody needs you. And if they're not going to work with you, they're going to work with somebody else who probably isn't as good, right? So you want them to work with you. You need them to work with you. You need them to work with your clients. That's what you want. And your clients benefit as well. So if we're not getting that information out there to those people, then other people don't get what they need also.
Yeah.
They're not privy to the information. But so I think that there's a very big difference between advertising and between creating communities and providing value for those communities.
Really building a brand is what it sounds like you're describing.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, when I think about, like, we call, again, the traditional platforms, oh my God, I sound old.
Crazy,
It's
right?
like, I was on a traditional platform, but, like, you know, when we talk about, like, what Mark and Adam, the CEO of Instagram, have said, the engagement's still there. It's just not really as present on our feeds, right? So when we talk about, like, decreased likes and comments and things like that, to me, when I use Facebook, I'm more involved in terms of, like, groups.
Yes,
like, I feel like that's
exactly.
where a lot of the interactions are happening, or even, like, in the DMs and et cetera. I think that's where Messenger. I think that's where a lot of the engagement and community building is happening. Otherwise, honestly, today, again, I think Instagram and Facebook, if we're talking about just the feeds, are really pay for play spaces. Like, you typically need to have some sort of budget behind to be able to get visibility, and that's just the way the algorithm is set up today. So it's not that it's impossible to win. You just kind of need some money.
And that's what people need to understand. You said it perfectly, pay for play, because things have moved towards, you know, when our parents are growing up in advertising, you advertise in the newspaper, you advertised in catalogs. No one's doing that anymore. And if it is, you are doing that, you're advertising to a certain group of people who are obviously not online. But in order to advertise, in order to find your community actual buyers, you need to be on Facebook. You need to be on these ads and run these really strong ads that allow you to really target your demographic, your ideal client profile.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, can I go dark on a Facebook and Instagram? Yeah, my Instagram is private. And my Facebook is private. Can you still get ads through me? Probably, yeah. But where you find me is on LinkedIn and YouTube and X. That's where I chose to be, and TikTok. That's where I chose to be open and have people kind of be able to interact with me and interact with my personality. I've left the Facebook and Instagram for, like, family and friends. That's it.
Got it.
So, I mean, I don't think I'll be deactivating, but, like, I do see myself not using it as much, but just because that's a progression of things. As you get older, as you start doing, okay, I don't really need this platform. I'm going to focus on this platform. So
What's funny, as entrepreneurs, I think a lot of us actually have these, because I have that too. I have a Facebook that's private for like my friends and my family, and I don't share that with everybody, right? And also I've had it since I'm 16 years old, so you know, it's like my original, you know, social media site. I think that's funny that you do that too, because you know, we have these like private spaces where we still want some privacy, but then again, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we do have to share.
We've got to be a voice.
Our lives. We have to share what's happening, but we get to select that. You know, if we don't post the picture, you know, it's not going to get posted. So we get to share which part of our lives we show to people and which we don't.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I feel like I get a lot of engagement on the sites when I do post.
Yeah.
Right.
In my private life, like in the public ones, like it's a struggle.
It's tricky because, like, again, I can plus one to what both you guys are saying, where I have like my regular accounts that I use like publicly with friends, but then I also have like the accounts that I have on a more public level where anyone can kind of reach out to me. So like, same thing you said, like my Facebook lockdown, handful of 100 followers from like high school or college, whatever the case may be. But LinkedIn, like anyone can, you know, reach out to me, and I'm trying to, you know, build that brand voice on there, right, where we become essentially like speakers or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I think it's interesting to just see the change in traditional social media to, like, again, as we shift towards TikTok, and also thinking about what's beyond, right? Like, you know, we have conversations around like, how does AI integrate with like the future of social? What does it look like? You know, Instagram, I don't know if you guys saw, put out messaging that they're going to have like AI user accounts now that are on our timelines that are like going to be interacting with our post. And it's like, at what point does social media become what we call like dead internet theory, where it's just bot accounts essentially interacting with us? Like, where'd the people go?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think everybody's going to just start going outside again.
Yeah, I think so too, actually.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be like, all right, we're done with the internet. Let's start doing something crazy like
Walking.
go out.
Going back to the mall that are all closed.
Well, now, hopefully all that land will go back to like actual land.
Yeah.
You know, now that the big malls are closing, the big stores are closing, like hopefully all that space that was taken up by parking lots and buildings, if that could be reverted to garden and like forest and land, honestly, the internet kind of did the planet a favor in that way, if that actually happens. Because a lot of land is now not being used for commercial use. So maybe, I hope it can go back to...
I mean, I see that. I've learned to love going for walks in the past year and a half. I go for walks if it's not 12 degrees outside. Like, I'll go for 1 to 2 walks a day, and it's helped a lot. Like, just going for an hour walk, it's been amazing. But what do you think is the next 90 days is going to look like for TikTok?
Boom, Jillian.
Like, ladies first.
Oh, thank you. No, because I'm the loudest. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of gameplay. I think there's going to be a lot of false narratives. I think put out by trusted sources. I'm not saying, you know, there's going to be other false narratives. I think there's going to be a lot of gameplay for a lot of reasons that we're not privy to. I think a lot of people are going to try to buy it. I think a lot of people are going to try to have their interests, you know, put out there. And so I think that between the government, between TikTok, between other social media agencies, between people who are looking to buy TikTok, I think there's going to be a lot of gameplay, and I think that we should not panic. I think that we should not do anything like irrational or crazy. You know, I think we should just kind of like let it go, ride it out, and just see what happens. And hopefully you haven't made TikTok your entire life, right? Because that's, you should never do that, right? But I think it's going to be kind of wonky, and we just have to kind of let it ride until we figure it out. But you're talking about billions of dollars at hand, so this isn't going to be something where people are just like, oh yeah, sure, like okay, you know, whatever. They're going to play with the public. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I'll just plus that one because there's a lot of, you know, money on the line, especially for these small business owners. Like we said, that, you know, we all work with small businesses that do use TikTok, and being able to make sure that hopefully the platform stays afloat. I mean, I'm thinking about the next 75, 90 days. Trump's already said that he's extended the timeline for what the ban looks like so that they can find a potential seller. I'm of the belief that they will likely sell at least 50% of it to the United States. You know, regardless of whatever your political views or designations are, I think we know Trump to be an entrepreneurial businessman, and he's going to, I probably find a way to secure a deal where the United States becomes at least like the large majority owner of TikTok US, and they'll be able to keep the platform.
Yeah. I think it's a big TV show. I think it's a real life Game of Thrones. Yeah. I think that TikTok in general, or ByteDance, whoever owns it, it's going to be all about self-preservation.
Yeah.
I think that Shu is going to do the best that he can to, you know, as I said, self-preserve, but also brown nose and get on people's good side. Is he for the people? Is he for freedom of speech? I don't know. I don't know. Being a Singaporean person, but I do think that we might get, you know, one of our first outright state media, you know?
If we don't already have it.
If we don't, that's why I say first outright state media. We probably do already have secret state medias, but I think right now would be a good time for anybody who's on TikTok, who's bet their stuff on TikTok,
Diversify.
to start diversifying. I mean, even past TikTok, you say that with simple stocks, diversify. You should bring, if you built your community there, bring your community to wherever else it is, blog, YouTube, email list. Email list is the most important.
Yes.
All my clients who I run email marketing for, they're doing amazing. And nobody seems to still believe me except marketers that your email list
it's
is your most
gold.
important thing. It's gold. If you have a good email list where you're getting 30-40% engagement, like that is gold.
I call it the invisible selling machine for a reason. It still has the highest ROI over any digital marketing channel. Yeah. And again, it's something that when we think about social media, it's really rented land, right? You can get kicked off for one wrong comment or you know, posting the wrong thing. You always want, as a business owner, have multiple ways to grow your brand, and at the same time make sure that you build something earned for yourself, some own media that you control, not just living on other people's borrowed platforms.
Yeah. So I think that TikTok is it's time to move on and say your piece. Yeah, just, you know.
Where am I going to learn how to cook and you know, do my salmon bite recipes?
You should see my
YouTube.
YouTube? It's not the same. It's not the same.
You should see my bookmarks. My bookmarks are like, I'm very, very detailed. So my bookmarks are bookmarked into like Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, like photography, videography, travel. Like my bookmarks are insane.
You're a TikTok super user, organizer.
I use TikTok more than Google. And that's what upsets me the most. Like, I know it's time to move on, but like, TikTok is a really, really good
TikTok's
for
your
information.
news source. Is it your news source?
I would say no. Reddit is still mostly my news source.
Interesting. The Pew Research Center posted, I think, yesterday that 52% of Americans rely on TikTok as their main news platform, which is interesting, because only 1% of Americans follow an actual news media outlet on TikTok. So it's really interesting to see that people use TikTok as a main news platform or channel, but like, what are they like? What type of news are they getting from there, knowing that they're not following what we consider to be like credentialed
that actually
media
came
publications?
Up in the Mosaic. Did you see that message?
No, I didn't see that one.
So there was a woman.
You gotta add me to this Mosaic group. I'm gonna chime in.
There, because you said traditional media, and there was a woman in the group who worked 20 years in traditional. I was like, I think who worked 20 years in traditional media, and she was saying that the jobs are leaving and they're gone, and you know, in traditional media, and she worked her whole life, and now they're not there anymore. And there was a conversation about, which I guess is a conversation with a different day, and of course it's terrible. But first of all, I think in our world we have to understand that our job, like if you make your job about one thing, like if you make your job about one type of media, eventually that will go away.
Pass,
I think we're at the point where we're aware that social media is not going to be social media in 10, 15, 20 years, right? I think 50 years, et cetera. It will evolve, right? And it will change.
Will be the social media.
And, we're going to have to change with it. The industry will pass, just like the news industry and all kinds. But aside from that, it was a very interesting conversation about in traditional media, there's entities that control the narrative and they tell you what they want you to hear, but they fact check, right? So they have to fact check most of the time, although we know that they don't always, because Prince Harry just won a lawsuit for false narratives, right? So they don't always tell the truth, even though they're supposed to. But it's a small number of people that control a narrative, where on social media, you have everybody who's able to control the narrative. However, there's less of an ability to necessarily fact check, right? So where are the lines of our society? Where do we want the masses to have the ability to say whatever they want to say, whenever they want to say it, with no checks? Or do we want a small number of news outlets to control that narrative, but have like some checks?
I guess
you know what I'm saying?
I'm more leaning towards the first one, because it's more of, let us as the people have that data to check. I mean, the good thing about social media and just online in general now is that something comes on, you have the time and the space and the power to literally look it up.
People won't, though, but
people won't. Yeah, people won't.
But then you have to educate people on how to absorb this kind of information and how to look it up and how to fact check.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I would say talking about what you just said, the biggest thing right now that's in people's minds when it comes to celebrity culture and everything is the whole "this ends with us" thing with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And you've had people from both parties say like it's her, it's him, whatever. But as the facts are now coming out, it's like, ooh, it's not looking too good for her. But then again, it's like, are you going to open that 90, 100-page lawsuit and read it? Or are you going to listen to the guy on TikTok
who summarizes
who took the time and made a 4-part series going through everything? You know?
It's the attention spans. It's the screens, I'm telling you. But no, it's such a tricky nuance. We could probably have a whole episode just on that. But
trust,
I think,
right?
Yeah.
Who do you trust?
Yeah.
Who do you believe?
And those are the communities. Who do you trust?
Right.
You stay in those communities.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to bring off into an email list.
You could trust the email.
Trust the email.
Trust in the email.
Click and open. Please don't unsubscribe.
So where's everybody heading to? I know I'm staying on mostly LinkedIn, and I'm now taking a new foray into YouTube. I've never tried YouTube before. I've always said I want to be a YouTuber.
I see you're starting to vlog now.
Yeah, I'm starting to vlog. My vlog camera is right there. It's not on, but
nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to YouTube, see what it's up. Just
that's awesome.
Document stuff. What about you guys?
Yeah, my team has always been excited about YouTube and YouTube Shorts specifically.
YouTube Shorts has been really good.
Yeah, actually we're kind of, if TikTok does go down, we're using it as an excuse to push that even further too. I've always been an Instagram girl. I just love Instagram. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's the millennials in us talking.
We're traditional.
We're so I'm a traditional girl.
I'm sure our engineer Angelina over here is just like, Instagram, ew. But I've been an Instagram boy, but I think I'm taking a step back from Instagram. I'm not posting as much on my personal. I'll still post all the time on my open ones.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely LinkedIn has become like the star of the show. Still an Instagram guy where like I'll post heavy on the stories and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm trying to just be more of a thought leader on the LinkedIn side and share my thoughts, because to your point, I realize like, we all have these great ideas and thoughts, and if we don't put them out there, if we don't publish, no one hears these things and things like that. So trying to use LinkedIn more as a primary platform.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming.
Thank
we
you.
had
Thank
such
you
a
for having me.
Yeah,
conversation.
this was awesome.
We're gonna get you on Mosaic.
Yes.
Please, please. I got more. I promise I got more hot takes. I promise.
And we need to have more of these conversations.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, we should have this at least like once a month or something. Just stay up to date. You know, it's probably good for all of our brands.
Yeah.
No, honestly, for sure, for sure. This was great. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.